The madness starts at the Arch. Don't miss the 2014 Missouri Valley Conference Men's Basketball Tournament, March 6th through 9th at Scottrade Center. Get your tickets and get to St. Louis for Arch Madness. It begins here. Don't miss the 2014 Missouri Valley Conference Women's Basketball Tournament at the Family Arena in St. Charles, Missouri. Show your school spirit and get your tickets now.
NCAA March Madness is coming to St. Louis. Experience it live.
Oh, brings it home.
As 8 of the top collegiate teams compete for a shot at the NCAA Sweet 16. Don't miss the buzzer beaters. As Cinderellas crash the party at the 2014 NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship. March 21st and 23rd at the Scottrade Center in St. Louis. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/MBB tickets.
Valley Conference Men's Basketball Coaches Teleconference. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. If you would like to ask a question during the conference, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. To withdraw your question, press the pound key. I will now turn the call over to Mike Kern. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Bonnie. And we do have Coach Ben Jacobson of Northern Iowa with us. The Panthers are at Evansville tomorrow night and then back at home against Drake on Saturday, and we'll get right to it, Coach. Let's talk a little bit about your game tomorrow, and then we'll open it up for some questions.
Yeah, sorry I'm a little late this morning, Mike. Just kind of getting ready for practice here. Tomorrow with with Evansville, a younger team than what Marty had a year ago with that really good group of seniors. But he's kind of plugged these new guys into those same roles at the offensive end. Valentine's doing a lot of what Colt Ryan did for a number of years. And other guys have just kind of moved into the spots that they need with that offense. And I think for a younger team, they're doing a great job at the offensive end. As we all know, they've always run really good motion, done a great job with it, and do a great job of getting to the free throw line. And the thing that I've been really impressed with is not surprised at all, but impressed with how well they've defended for being a little bit of a younger basketball team. I think that they've been a very good defensive team, and like you always get with Marty and his teams, they play extremely hard. So we're looking forward to a tremendous challenge tomorrow, and we know that we've got to do some things better if we're going to be able to get a win tomorrow.
Thanks, Coach. Let's get to the questions for Coach Ben Jacobson and questions for the media.
To ask Coach a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Our first question comes from Andrew Logue of the Des Moines Register.
Hey, Coach.
Yeah, good morning, Andrew.
Good morning. You guys obviously played Wichita State and got a first-hand look Sunday, and the first thing you kind of see on the ESPNs or whatever is, can Wichita State go undefeated in the Valley? And what is your take, and how hard would that be? And is it possible for the Shockers to run the table in a league like the Valley, or is that unrealistic in this day and age of parity?
Yeah, I don't know that I've got a very good or a direct answer to that question. Can they go undefeated? What I can tell you, Andrew, and watching them a bunch to get ready for them, and now having played them, they do the things necessary to be in position to win every night. They defend and rebound, I think, as good as anybody in the country, and then they don't make mistakes at either end of the floor. For somebody to beat them, you're going to have to beat them. They are not going to beat themselves. So they're really good. They're as good as I thought they were before we started that game on Sunday, and they're a team that is going to win a lot of games this year. They're a team that can win a lot of games in the NCAA tournament.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Again, to ask Coach a question, press star 1. Our next question comes from Paul Swellentrop of the Wichita Eagle.
Hey, Ben, we've seen some pretty dramatic swings home and road. I don't know how unusual that is, but I'm wondering if we're going to see that a lot because of all the inexperience in the league. So what I wanted to ask you was, how do you prepare young players to go on the road maybe for the first time or the first time in a big role? And, do you do things differently with a younger group than you would, maybe when you've got 3 or 4 seniors or more seniors and juniors that you can lean on?
Yeah, I think the best way, Paul, and it's one that sometimes, is difficult to go through, is just to go and play them and gain the experience of being in those games and gain the experience of playing on the road. And I think what you learn, as a younger player, I don't know that young guys fully appreciate the importance of every possession. And the more you play, and the more times you play against quality teams, you find out that the teams that are really good for a couple of reasons, and one of them is they understand the value of every possession. And coming out of the game on Sunday, one of the things that we looked at on film and I talked with our team about was Wichita State doesn't make mistakes. They play every possession the same at both ends and in transition. And that's for some of our young guys, that's an area where we need to improve. And I think there's some things that you can do from a film standpoint, from a prep standpoint. Then you've got to have guys that really focus in and lock into where they need to make improvements. Then you got to go play some games. And at some point you got to break through on the road, and that's kind of where we're at right now. We got to find a way to break through on the road.
Thank you.
Ben, thank you for your time this morning. Sorry if we interrupted your practice. We're getting ready for it, and we'll catch you down the road.
Yep, no problem. Thanks, Mike.
Coach, see you.
Yep.
Let's get to Coach Ray Giacoletti of Drake. Drake hosting Indiana State tomorrow night. Hi, Coach.
How are we doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Good. Let's open it. Let's get right to the questions so we can stay on point today. And questions for Coach Ray Giacoletti.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Our first question comes from Andrew Logue of the Des Moines Register.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I'm good, Andrew.
Well, as you get ready now for Indiana State, the one thing that strikes me is, they always talk about the value of a point guard, not only in college basketball, but maybe in specifically like a league in the Valley. Jake Odom, I think Indiana State had one winning season the 9 years before he arrived on campus. Since he's arrived, they've had a winning season every year, and I think they're like 20 games above 500 during Odom's career. What it is about Jake, you think, that makes him so effective, and how important is just that role when you're trying to establish a program like Coach Lansing was?
Yeah, it's a great question, and you talk about your point guards are evaluated by the success of your team, not how many points they score. And if you were going to evaluate Jake, you would evaluate him at a high level for just what he's been able to do in just great wins over a 4-year period for Indiana State. So, this is my first time seeing him. I've heard about him, but I've had a chance to watch 3 or 4 tapes now of him, and he's a guy that the most impressive thing to me makes others better, and the confidence and freedom that he plays with. It's a credit then to Coach Lansing to give him that, because he's at his best during those times in transition. He just, in watching him, you don't feel like he's ever feels pressure, feels pressed into making a decision. The game is slow and easy for him, and it's impressive to watch.
Is that something natural? I mean, or can a player be groomed? Now, Jake obviously was pretty good when he showed up at Indiana State, but is that something a young player like maybe you're bringing in or have now can learn over time, or is some of that just innate that what Odom does?
I think probably the majority is Jake, and then the opportunity and then to be allowed the freedom is coaching, but so it's a little bit of a combination of both. But he's had a great career and poised to have obviously a great senior year.
Well, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Paul Swellentrop of the Wichita Eagle.
Hi, Ray. I was wondering if you could kind of run through Aaron Hawley's story. I know he didn't play last year, and how you got him back and how he's helping you.
Yeah, it's we got here, took the job. Aaron was working out with our guys, and just simply somebody brought it to our attention that he had a year left, and that late when you take a job in April, and it's very difficult to go out and recruit and fill spots, especially with the academics, and you're probably making a lot of mistakes that time of year. We were very fortunate to find out that Aaron had a year left and had an interest in staying, and it was a win-win, I think, for both parties. One, we couldn't have found somebody as good as he is at that late date, and two, we get the scholarship back and could go out and recruit for the 14 class. So we had a chance to sit down and meet several times and kind of heard his story, and he's a guy that's product of a second opportunity and making the most of it, and thank God it happened that way, because he's a guy who can really score the basketball. He's really buying into trying to be a better defender, and I think that probably was the knock on him early, but his effort, and he's trying. He's trying to become a better defender. The other thing he's done a better job at is buying into rebound efficiency and doing his job, whether it be defensively or offensively, rebounding the ball.
I want to make sure I'm understanding it right. To my impression of what I read, it was not his decision not to play the previous season. Is that correct?
I believe so, yeah. And I don't want to get all into it because it's hearsay on my part, but yeah, I don't believe he was asked to come back.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Our next question comes from Adam Suderman of Basketball Times Magazine.
Coach, getting ready to play Indiana State makes this question even a little more appropriate since they beat Notre Dame earlier this year, but what's your general reaction to a pretty wide national consensus that the Missouri Valley is could very well be a one-bid league this year, having just open conference play?
To be honest with you, I haven't even thought about it and just merely focused on us and, what we need to do every day to get better. I haven't thought about it at all, to be honest with you. The Missouri Valley is a very good league and proven, obviously over the years of existence. And we're more so just worried about today getting better at practice. And if you do that, you get better a week from now, a month from now. And I think the Valley probably feels the same way. I mean, obviously Wichita State's very good, but there's 2 or 3 other teams that, are certainly worthy of being able to play in the NCAA tournament. Indiana State being one of them, Northern Iowa being another. Missouri State's had a great start to the year, but I haven't had a chance to see all the teams either. We just kind of stay focused on the next task at hand, but I don't think I can help you a whole lot with that question. It's just I'm more concerned about us and our next opponent.
Our next question comes from Todd Golden of the Tribune-Star.
Hi, Ray.
How you doing?
It seems to me that a coach in his first year at a program, one of the things that you need to get is buy-in from your players. What have you been able to do to create that buy-in, to create some success for your program so far this year?
That's the thing I'm probably most proud of with these 13 guys is their ability to kind of go through some change and buy into, what we're trying to sell. And, we've tried to do it a number of different ways of just, team bonding type of things, just relationships with each and every player, and then explain to them that there's a process of winning. And those processes, if you do those, they equal winning down the road. One of our big emphasis is rebound efficiency, whether you did your job or not on that particular possession, and we grade it. And when we've done our jobs and got to the certain numbers we've needed to get to, that's equal to wins. When we haven't, obviously it doesn't. So I think everybody, whether you recruit the players or you're in your first or 10th year at that institution, you're trying to get complete buy-in by your team, at all times. But I think for whatever reason, these guys have done a good job of staying focused, buying into something, and now we got to be able to sustain it, for the second half of the season, and that's kind of our next task.
When you look at the Bradley game, a setback over the weekend, what's kind of the emphasis for your own team to get better, translating from that into the Indiana State game tomorrow?
Yeah, I think going on the road for the first time in the conference play, it's not going to be easy, and I think, they were the more aggressive of the two teams, and usually when that happens, that team is successful and prevails. We need to get back to being the aggressor, and for us to have a chance to be successful tomorrow night, we need to be able to start the game that way. We're down 19-2 to start the game at Bradley, getting not punched, but punched several times in the face before, trying to respond and cut it to 4, but you just can't dig those kind of holes. And, we were not ready for the street fight, and I felt they, had their backs against the wall. They came out and fought us, and to their credit, had that aggressiveness, and the results are in just that alone.
Coach, that was your last question. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
All righty, thank you.
See you later. Bye-bye. Let's get to Paul Lusk of Missouri State. The coach joins us, and they play at Bradley tomorrow night in Peoria. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Mike.
How are you doing, Paul?
Good.
Good. Let's get right to the questions for you. Questions from the media for Coach Paul Lusk.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Our first question comes from Dave Reynolds of the Peoria Journal-Star.
Paul,
Hey.
can you give us an assessment of your team so far? What's done well and what needs work?
Well, we've done some pretty good things in the non-conference season. I thought our game after the break, SEMA, we had a lot of respect for talent. I thought that 30 minutes of basketball that we played to get up by 20 was probably the best basketball that we played all year. Then we collapsed and had to win on a desperation shot. And it kind of carried over to the next game with Illinois State, who I really like. I like their team and I like the way they play. But we got down by 16, but our guys found a way to just keep digging in and had a better second half, and we were able to win that game. And, to Loyola's credit, they all played us in every facet of the game. I was very disappointed with our mindset and our approach to that game. But we gotta be better clearly than we were the other night against Loyola. But up to this point, I think we've done some positive things, but we're in a tough stretch right now with the games that we do have, and looking and hoping that we respond.
And I guess just looking at Bradley, they've been down for a while and had a nice win last weekend. What's your take on them? What is it that you need? What are the keys in this game in your mind?
Well, they're talented, and we have felt all along that they're going to find their rhythm, and it sounds like they found their rhythm the other night. Sometimes it just takes time, and they've lost some close games and some games they probably expected to win. But I think it all starts with Walt Lemon. He's very good. He's a difference maker in this league on the defensive end and on the offensive end. The Greer kid has come in and really done a nice job. He's a guy that can go get a basket. We know about Pickett. Pickett is a guy that can be a double-double guy at any time. So they've got a nice team. They've got nice players. I know they've lost some games early, but that was to have Drake down like that early in the game. It seems like they've probably found a way out of where they were at past month, and they're playing better basketball, and they've got all the ability to do that.
Thank you.
You got it.
Our next question comes from Wendell Scranton of the Springfield News Leader.
Yeah, Paul, what's the first step in improving the defense right now?
Well, the first step before any of that is just having our minds right, because I don't think our minds were right at Loyola the other night. And, we haven't been able to put together consistent defensive efforts. We played 30 minutes of defense against SEMO. We played the second half of solid defense against Illinois State, and we didn't defend anyone the other night. And that's the sign of a team that is not very mature and has to understand what it takes to win on a night-in and night-out basis. You have that mindset.
Are you pondering making some lineup changes tomorrow night?
Yeah, I am. I am pondering doing that, but I'm also there are certain things we need to do with the lineup to help us flow better offensively. And then if you take a guy out of the lineup, it's not because he has done anything or played poorly to where he has to come out. And there are other guys that probably need to come out because they haven't played that well. And then there are other positions that if a guy does get the start, it could be by default. So, but it's not drastic changes. You know, we've been pretty solid, but we have definitely make improvements. As I said, our performance the other night, that was unacceptable.
What about Keith Pickens? How's his health status right now?
Really struggling. You know, he's been in a boot for about a week now, and I don't know if he'll be able to go. And it's getting to one of those points to where, again, you know, they're going to have to get him looked at, get him back, and go from there.
Is it a foot or an ankle or shin thing right now with him?
It's a shin thing now. It's in his shin. Get an MRI. Sure.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Our next question comes from Carson Tiggs of the Waterloo Courier.
Hey, Paul. Perhaps you haven't looked this far ahead, but and not specifically for your team, but generally speaking, what does a team have to do to beat Wichita?
Oh, I mean, that's, you know, we got beaten by 32 points on the road against Loyola the other night. Loyola just making us, you know, we got to just figure out we can get a good spread and be competitive. So, Wichita's, you know, they're not a great team. They're a great program, and we'll have to. I mean, I guess if I could answer it in terms of just last year, they do what they do. You're going to have to rebound and be physical, try to keep them off the glass, and I mean, that's probably number one, but we haven't even looked that far ahead.
All right. And how important is it for them to take a loss kind of early so they're not, you know, like 8-0, everybody else is 5-3, 4-4, just to keep them in sight a little bit early on?
You talking Wichita?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't think they want to lose at all. I mean, if you can win all your games, win all your games. I think there's no doubt sometimes when you win games, you still have problems that you have to fix from a basketball standpoint, and as long as you're addressing those, you get them fixed. I mean, I can't answer that, but I would assume they're not wanting to lose a game to get regrouped or get refocused. They seem pretty focused right now.
All right, thanks a lot.
You bet.
Our next question comes from Paul Sloan-Chop of the Wichita Eagle.
When you've got a group that's not super experienced, hadn't been together out on the road a lot, how do you go about trying to help them prepare to work on the road or play well on the road?
Well, we do. We got a lot of new guys that are playing for us, but you have to rely on some of the upperclassmen. Keith Pickens is an upperclassman that's played a lot for us. And he's been in, but yet, you know, he hasn't been practicing at all, and then I couldn't hardly play him the other night. And then, you know, Nate Shear is a guy that has been in the program for a couple of years. He's not playing a ton of minutes for us now. So the guys that are out there haven't played a ton. Jamar Gully's the kid that has, but he's got very limited experience. He's been in the league for 1 year. He's coming off his ACL. So we just, you know, we've been okay on the road. We wanted Old Dominion. We wanted Oral Roberts. But we simply didn't respond the other night. And didn't do the things that a team needs to do to be competitive. And that was disappointing to me. So you get another crack at it. You can't get too high or too low. But we had a good day of practice yesterday, and we'll have another good day of practice today.
Thank you.
You bet.
Our next question comes from Adam Suderman of Basketball Times Magazine.
Coach, I'm curious, how much attention do you pay to the other Missouri Valley schools during non-conference play? And along with that, what is your assessment of what you've seen from the conference, maybe just a few games into the conference schedule?
Well, I think you do pay attention. You have to focus, you know, what's going on in your own backyard immediately. I mean, there's been a lot of good things done. I mean, I look at Illinois State and with all the new people they brought in, and sure they have some struggles early, but to beat Dayton, and Dayton's coming off the Maui Invitational, they've got 2 BCS wins at Northwestern, which is a road win against DePaul. Obviously, Wichita has tons of quality wins. Northern Iowa has played one of the toughest schedules in the conference. We know what Indiana State has done. So, our league's a great league. And it's night in, night out. When you get into league play, you have to bring it. There's too many good coaches, there's too many good players, but as always, our league is a quality basketball league. Hello?
Coach, Paul, that was your last question. I want to thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you. Greg Lansing is next on our call list. Greg did call in on time. He has a practice, and then we're flying right to Des Moines right after practice, so that he could not stay on and join us today. Ace Hunt, the SID at Indiana State, has offered any of the Drake media to line up interviews with Greg. They can reach out to me, and I can get you in touch with Ace, and he'll get you in touch with Greg. So, that being said, let's jump ahead to Marty Simmons, who's been waiting on the line for his turn. We do have Coach Simmons with us, University of Evansville. Hi, Coach. Good morning.
Good morning.
Northern Iowa tomorrow night. Talk about the Panthers, and then we'll open it up for some questions for you.
Well, year in, year out. I mean, me personally, I respect Coach Jacobson and their program about as much as anybody in college basketball. I think they do a terrific job. They're always well set up offensively. They're a very talented team, and defensively, they're always a very difficult team to get any good looks against.
Thank you, Coach. Let's open it up for some questions now for you. Questions for Coach Marty Simmons of Evansville.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Our first question comes from Todd Hefferman of the Southern Illinois newspaper.
Hey, Marty, what do you think you need more from your club right now?
What do we need more? I think we just consistency is one thing. I think at times we've played some pretty good basketball, both offensively and defensively, but sustaining that effort and concentration for the full 40 minutes is an area that we have to improve on. And I mean that's many different areas, as far as cutting, screening, delivering the ball on time, defensively, blocking out, closeouts. I mean, all areas. Fundamentally, I just think that our basketball team has to continue to improve in all areas.
Do you think that's, the problem with the leadership, or do you think it's just execution right now?
Oh, I just think that it's just going to take a little more effort than maybe what we thought. I mean, it's not easy to guard the quickness and the athleticism and some of the post players. Just not easy. I mean, you just gotta give another 10 or 15% effort. The mentality part, the concentration of knowing your assignments and executing those to a T. I mean, we've got a lot of new players, and I think in areas we have improved, but again, that's just not consistent enough to win games in this league, and that's our, we're working on that each and every day.
And just looking at your numbers, the assist to turnovers, most of the games you've won have been significantly in your favor, aside from the Miami Ohio game. Has your offense, been as efficient as you had hoped, or is that just a matter of taking care of the ball right now?
Well, we haven't had anything be as efficient as we'd hoped. I mean, we've got to continue to improve again in all areas, but that's definitely, when we're successful, we're valuing the ball and not letting, our poor decisions turn into easy baskets for our opponents. And, as you said, I mean, and it's a stat that probably holds true as much for us as any other team. And I think at times, we want aggressive mistakes. We're encouraging our guys to attack and be aggressive. And too many times they're just unforced errors. And we absolutely have to improve in that area.
Marty, looks like that was your final question. Thank you for your time this morning. Good luck tomorrow night.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next coach in the order is Barry Hinson of Southern Illinois. The Salukis, I know we're going to try to take the train up to their game at Loyola, and I think Barry had to reschedule. I know he's not with us right now, so we're going to try to get a hold of him and or Porter Moser, who's next on the line. So we'll hold on for just a second as we get one of our coaches available to us. Oh, we do have Barry with us. Good morning, Coach. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Are you en route, or?
Well, we're trying right now. We're taking a different route this time to Chicago. 57 hasn't been really good to us, so we're going to try to take 55 in. We were scheduled to be on Amtrak, but the Amtrak shut down this morning, all service out of Carbondale. So we're back on the bus, and we're headed towards Chicago.
Thanks for joining us, Coach. I know travel has not been very kind to you the last week, so appreciate you being with us today. Let's go ahead and open up questions from the media for Coach Barry Hinson. Questions from the media.
To ask Coach a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Our first question comes from Todd Hefferman of the Southern Illinois newspaper.
Hey, Barry, has anybody stepped forward leadership-wise in the last 2 days?
Well, Todd, we haven't had a chance to step forward leadership-wise. We've been on the bus, so we got in late or mid-afternoon yesterday, and after those guys slept in cots at a church and, just spent most of the time on the bus, we let those guys go home and try to get as much rest as possible last night. So we left extremely early this morning. We're headed right now to Chicago. We're going to practice tonight at about 7 o'clock, so it'll be the first opportunity that we have to get on the floor since Illinois State.
Who do you think you need to step forward? I know you talked about Dez and Marcus and Anthony. They seem to listen to. Do you think the team still listens to those three?
I think right now it's extremely open for anybody to step forward. I think the one thing that Marcus does constantly is that he is a good communicator and he's trying and he talks. But we need guys that have. I think it always helps when you have guys that can lead, not when they're not playing well. I mean, we need somebody that's just consistently being a leader regardless on how their individual performance is going. And certainly that's been a challenge for us, but we're going to bring it, we're going to continue to make it, a really mainstay for what we're focused on.
What do you think the biggest challenge Loyola brings for you?
I think the biggest challenge for us right now, more so than anything, is guys opening up their mouths and talking. And it's, it's such an easy thing to do, but yet it's such a hard thing to do for our team.
How hard is it when your best player is not your best leader, or is that not as big a deal as maybe other teams?
No, I think it's a huge deal. I've always said this. I think that's if you want to look at teams across the country, you want to pick out teams that are having success. I think there's a direct correlation with that, and we certainly, I know that teams have good offensive players and a good defensive player. We need just somebody to, whether it be on one side or the other, to step up and take a little bit of stock in their program. And certainly, if we don't have that, it'll fall on my shoulders. If it happens to be me being the leader, then that's what we'll do.
Have you decided who you're going to move into the starting lineup yet for tomorrow?
No, not even a clue. We'll wait tonight, which we'll wait to see how we practice, and I'm going to stick with my guns. Those guys that practice the hardest, those guys that play the hardest are going to be the ones that be on the floor.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Our next question comes from Adam Suderman of Basketball Times Magazine.
Coach, I just wondered if you could give some assessment of Loyola and what you've seen from them in their first few games in Missouri Valley play.
Alan, I think the thing that's the staff that's alarming more so than anything is their field goal percentage. I don't think you see very many teams in the country that are shooting 49%. The other thing that stands out to me is you've got a guy that can come off the bench and gets 30, just like he did against Missouri State. And we don't we nor do very many teams in the country have a guy that can come off the bench and go get you 30 points. So I think right now, they've found their role as a team, what they want to do offensively, and it's quite impressive. They shoot extremely well from the field. They shoot extremely well from the free throw line, and I think anytime you can have offensive numbers like that, it keeps you in the ball game.
Our next question comes from Brian Bloodworth of WJBC Bloomington.
Barry.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, given all the trials and tribulations you guys have gone through the last 3-4 weeks, how are you keeping things together, and what is the mindset of the team?
But I don't know if we're keeping things together or not. I mean, I think that, my personal life has put a lot on the plate for these kids, and I certainly wish it could be different, but there's nothing I can do about that. And, I caused a lot of that just with the rant at Missouri, or at Murray State, which I take full responsibility for that. But the other stuff is just that, we've got a couple of things. I think that, the best Band-Aid, I've said this for years, is always to win a ball game, and I think that will help this team tremendously. And at the same time, it's hard to do that in the Valley on a night-in and night-in basis. And we just got to find a way to find little measures of success here and there. And we're just searching right now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Coach, that was your final question. Thank you for joining us today. Good luck at Loyola.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, Barry. Appreciate it. And let's segue into Southern Illinois' opponent. We do have Loyola head coach Porter Moser with us. Good morning, Coach.
Morning.
Congratulations on your team's first Missouri Valley victory the other night.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and open it up for some questions. Questions for Coach Porter Moser.
To ask Coach a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Our first question comes from Todd Hefferman of the Southern Illinois newspaper.
Porter, do you start Turk now Wednesday night, or do you leave him on the bench, do you think, to start off?
For sure, leaving him on the bench. God, I don't want to mess him up. No, he's a great example. He hasn't had the same bounce as he had as a freshman. He's got a great personality off the court, and he wasn't getting his personality into the game. His body language and everything was down, and he shot the ball. He set a record for most threes in our program as a freshman, and he just wasn't getting that groove. And he came back from Christmas. He's got phenomenal parents, and I tell you, that a great influence on him when he came back. He just has had just as great. His personality's back, and he's playing that way, and it's great to see it. I mean, we need it, it gives us, the guys know that starting for us, it's not, the whole deal. He knows he's going to play, and we like that scoring punch off the bench.
And what else does he do? I mean, I know he's a great three-point shooter and scoring for you and getting to the free throw line. What else does he do for you? He plays a lot of nets.
He's our team comedian. If that's a positive in your resume, he's just a great kid. I think his defense is improving. I think as he gets stronger, he came in here as a freshman extremely weak. He's getting stronger, and I just think another year when his body, because he's actually grown, he's every bit of 6'4", is that I think he can become a good rebounder, and because he's long and he's not. When you evaluate and assess kids, when they're weak, you got to look at are they weak or are they soft? And I don't think he's soft. I just think he was weak, and I think he's getting stronger. But I do think he can become a very good rebounding guard.
Our next question comes from Tony Giannetti of the Chicago Sun-Times.
Hi, Porter. I'm wondering, how do you sustain what you did Sunday night?
Well, we've all been on both sides of those things, and you gotta take it for what it is. And we're extremely happy to be on that side of it, but we understand we're not 32 points better than Missouri State by any means. So you're just happy you put it in the bank, and then now you move forward. The thing that we can really take from that is that you've seen us. We have lost an amazing amount of double-figure leads in the second half. And some of it's youth, some of it's me maybe being too hard on them at times. You know, it's a variety of different things. And one of the things that we take is we were up, I think, 20 or something, and they cut it to 12. I call a timeout. Their bench is really excited. We've come in. That's been a point to where we've broken, and we've been real tentative. And we came out the whole timeout. It really wasn't about what we were going to run coming out of that huddle. It was about us, changing what we've done before in terms of staying aggressive. And we went on like a 12-14-0 run or something. And that is what we got to take from that. Is other teams are going to make a run. I mean, it is. It's part of it. And you got to be able to handle it and mature and not break. And that's the biggest thing we're going to take from that game is that timeout when they made a run and we got down 12.
My other question is, you've got a team that's coming off a lot of non-basketball problems with their traveling and everything. Does that work to your advantage, to their advantage, or just how do you look at those kinds of things that happen to basketball teams in wintertime?
You look at them, you just want to be thankful they're safe, because it is. We've all seen things that go awry. And but we're not really talking about that with our guys. We're talking about Pendleton. We're talking about Sean O'Brien. We're talking about what they do. I think they're very good. It's coming off ball screens. I mean, we're talking about what they do well. And I've known Barry for a long time. He's one of the highest character guys I know. I know he's going to fight through this, and I'm not even remotely thinking about, this could work in our advantage or not advantage. I'm working on, I know those guys are going to be ready to play. And I know we're worried about, same thing we always worry about the opponents, what they do really well offensively, what they're doing defensively.
Our next question comes from Adam Suderman of Basketball Times Magazine. Question was withdrawn.
Board, it looks like that was your final question. Thank you for your time today. Good luck against Southern Illinois tomorrow night.
Thank you.
See you later. And we're down now to Coach Dan Muller of Illinois State. The Redbirds are playing at Wichita State. Camp is closed, so we're going to get Dan here in just a second. And we do have Coach Dan Muller with us. Good morning, Coach.
Morning. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. Well, let's talk about your game tomorrow night, preview the Shockers, and then we'll open it up for some questions for you.
Yeah, obviously going in to play a really good team in a tough environment. They're well-balanced. They've got guys that are every different night, different guys can jump up and beat you. So it'll be certainly a big challenge for us, and we're looking forward to it.
Thank you, Dan. Let's go ahead and open it up for some questions now for you. Questions for Coach Dan Muller.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Our first question comes from Jim Benson of the Pantograph.
Morning, Jim. Hello?
Coach, I think he might have been disconnected. We'll just be patient with us. We'll get him back online here.
Okay.
Jim, go ahead with your question.
You there, Dan?
Yes. Hey.
Yeah, sorry. Obviously, you guys are playing zone, and sometimes teams have trouble rebounding out of zone. When you're playing a great rebounding team like Wichita State, how do you kind of approach that tomorrow night?
It's just something you have to do every time the shot goes up. We don't have the size or really the athleticism at times to match up with certain teams rebounding, and it was a disappointment in the first half in our last game. But it just comes down to every time you can fight as hard as you can to keep those guys off the boards, because we certainly won't be winning any jumping contests tomorrow night. But we've played pretty good rebounding teams before. This will be the best we've played. That'll be a big key to our game tomorrow.
Dan, I don't want to say you guys don't have anything to lose going into this game, but you got to get a sense that the team has a kind of relaxed feeling now, more so than maybe you guys did a month ago going into a game like this.
Well, we're more relaxed because we're more confident because we know what to do more. And I haven't seen any difference in practice. We're about to practice right now, preparing for this game as opposed to the others. And, that's what we want. We want consistency.
certainly know it'll be challenging tomorrow night, but we've tried to get better every day, and guys are more confident in their roles right now, understanding what we want from them. So in general, there's just more consistent behaviors, more consistent attitudes, whether it's this game or another game.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Our next question comes from Brian Bloodworth of WJVC Bloomington.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, is there any way that you can prepare a team for the atmosphere that they're going to face, especially a young team like yours?
Well, we played at VCU, and I think it'll be very similar. We didn't play very well at VCU, but at least we've seen something like that. We'll be louder tomorrow night, probably hold a little more people. But you know what? It's something we're excited to go into. It'll be the loudest place we've been since the VCU game. We've grown a lot since then. We play differently. Different guys are playing. So we'll see. I mean, I'm excited to see how our guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Carson Tiggs of the Waterloo Courier.
Speaking, what does it take to beat Wichita, now the number 6 team in the country?
What's it take?
Yeah. How do you beat them?
Oh, well, number one, you have to rebound the ball. You have to make some shots. They're really good defensively, and you don't get a lot of second chance opportunity. So you do have to have a good night from the field. And then you have to match their intensity and physicality. And as I said, they're tough. They're so tough because, literally any night they have at least 5 guys that could get 20 or 25 points. And so they're so well balanced, you have to guard everybody. But you got to play top of your game.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Coach, that was your final question. Thank you for your time. Good luck at Wichita tomorrow night.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, man. Let's go next to Coach Gino Ford of Bradley. Bradley hosting Missouri State tomorrow night, coming off of a win against Drake on Saturday. Morning, Coach.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Let's talk about Missouri State, if you could. Give us a preview of tomorrow night's game, and then we'll open it up for some questions for you.
Well, I think Missouri State's really had a great year. I know they had a disappointing performance on the weekend, but every single team seems to go through those moments. We've certainly had them ourselves, so they'll rally the troops. Paul does a great job, one of the best coaches in the league, and I'm sure they're going to be playing at a really high level, which is concerning because they've got a lot of good players.
Thank you, Gino. Questions from the media for Coach Gino Ford?
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Our first question comes from Todd Golden of the Tribune-Star.
Your team was able to beat Drake over the weekend. What do you feel are some of the things that your team did well, and what do you think are some of the keys to beating that team after they've been playing so well up to that point?
Well, for us, it's really all tied to defense because we've struggled on the offensive end pretty much all year. We've not shot the 3 well. That may actually be the understatement of all time, but we've shot the 3 really poorly, and we've not passed the ball well. So, you combine those, that makes points at a premium, and we play every game with a lot of pressure on our defense, every possession. I thought in the Drake game, they had been playing at a really, really high level. We defended the best we've defended all year, and probably, like always happens, you get a little fortunate because people miss some shots early in the game, and they had some good looks that lucky for us, they didn't make. But I thought our kids, kept competing on the defensive end, and we were quicker to the ball than we've been in rotations. And for us, I think that was what ignited us because we got 10 steals, several of which led to baskets for us, which we have to have because we just in the half court sometimes struggle to get the ball in the rim.
Thanks.
Yep.
Our next question comes from Todd Hefferman of the Southern Illinois newspaper.
Hey, Gino, you've used a couple of different lineups. How close are you to settling on a solid 5 that you can rely on right now?
Our starting lineup has been like when you go to the deli and you yank one of those little tickets, and then we just randomly call numbers. we don't really have a starting lineup. We won the other day. We played well. We're going to stick with that one again for Wednesday. Except one of the kids, Kadero Bell, had rolled his ankle and missed practice yesterday, so he's not supposed to practice today. We're hopeful that he'll be able to play on Wednesday, so he certainly won't be able to start. So we'll have to juggle his spot. We've tried a lot of combinations to get us going. We need to settle in on one. That's, I think, important. Not so much who it is, but just to have some type of rotation. I mean, we're now to the second week in January, and we're still trying to come up with, guys consistently performing in roles, if that makes sense. We just haven't had a ton of consistency. We've had some guys play really, really well at times. Unfortunately for us, it's been sporadic, and anytime you're dealing with sporadic performance, you don't really know where to turn, and some nights you go in a direction and it's just not there. And our job is to find the right buttons to push. But I think it was Parcells who said consistency is more important than occasional greatness, and we don't have a ton of guys on our roster who have been consistent for us. So that's going to be really key if we can get this thing turned around and play well in the league. And we had a good start at that on Saturday, but we've got to get some guys to give us the same thing day in, day out, so we know, where we can go and what we're going to get when we go there.
Are you a fan of just whoever practices the hardest? That's your starting five, or are there some real benefits to having some five that you can rely on, as you talked about a little bit?
Well, I think the really good teams, kind of have some defined roles. I think teams that are searching, as we've done at times, have to go with things like that, because you got to come up with something. I mean, you have to have a tangible thing. When you go out and play, and you don't play well, and you get beat, you don't want to send a message that, hey, we're doing the exact same thing, and I know it didn't work, but we're going to do it again, and we're going to do it again, and we're going to do it again. So I do think that there are times, and we've done that. We've had stretches when we've gone with who's playing the hardest in practice, and typically that has been during a stretch of struggles, and on the floor where we're not winning, where we're not playing well, and you're searching. So you're trying to give the kids something tangible, that this is how we're divvying up playing time. Who plays the hardest in practice? So I don't think that's a bad idea, and we've done that. But I think it's always when you're struggling. And I don't think and he demands they play hard. But I mean, Wichita's played so well. I think that Coach Marshall has a pretty good idea who he's going to start, and who he's going to play, and I'm sure they have to earn that in practice, but they've beaten everybody they've played, so he's not going into practice today, and just because someone has a good day, they're going to all of a sudden start. I don't think, but they've got that thing rolling, and I think you look at a team like us who's struggled. We're at the other end of the spectrum. We're trying to find some guys we can count on, and if we can count on you to play hard in practice, that's a tangible thing for us right now that we've got to really hold on to and embrace.
Coach, that was your final question. Thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, sir.
All right, good luck against Missouri State. Let's get next to Coach Marshall, Greg Marshall of Wichita State. The Shockers are hosting Illinois State in Wichita tomorrow night, and later in the week they're on the road at Missouri State, both games on television. Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. You?
I'm doing well, thank you. Let's get right to the questions for you. Questions for Coach Greg Marshall.
To ask Coach a question, press *1. Our first question comes from Adam Suderman of Basketball Times Magazine.
Coach, you've now broken the school record with a 15 straight win and obviously accomplished a wide variety of impressive feats this season. Now entering the third game of the conference slate, what are you most pleased or proud of what this team's done so far? What sticks out to you most?
Just their resolve. They're continually finding ways to win, whether it be blocking a shot, as Kel Cotton did against Tennessee, making a steal, as Ron Baker did against St. Louis, or just dribbling and getting to the rim and scoring at the basket as Fred Van Vliet did against Northern Iowa. They're constantly finding ways, and it's a new hero every night. It could be Clee Anthony Early with his scoring or one of those other things that I just mentioned, but they've got a lot of resolve, and they just find a way.
Our next question comes from Jim Benson of the Pentagraph.
Playing a smaller lineup, what special challenges does that present to teams?
You got to be able to guard them. You know, if they're smaller, chances are they may be a little quicker. You still got to be able to guard them, keep them in front. But you know, you can't sub after every trip. So you know that there's some things that can go the other way with the smaller lineup on the other end that you can exploit as well.
Thanks.
Our next question comes from Wendell Scranton of the Springfield News Leader.
Coach, I wonder if you could talk about Takale Cotton a little bit. You know, it seems like some of his teammates maybe get a little more notoriety, but Takale seems like he's a guy who ties everything together for you.
Yeah, he's just tremendous, Lendl. He's a great defender. He's a great rebounder. He just makes winning plays, and he's very quiet, unassuming. Except his game is just starting to speak volumes. I mean, he's a wonderful person and a great teammate. Very enjoyable personality off the court. When you can get him to open up, he's got a really good sense of humor. But he's just an everyday guy. Every day he comes in and he does what you ask him to do and tries to get better.
Seems like his offense really took an upswing last year, midway through the season. Was it just a credit to a lot of time he put in shooting the ball on his own?
Yeah, he got in the gym. He just spent a ton of hours in the gym trying to hone his jump shot and get it better. And he went from being one of the worst shooters early in the year to being one of the best, if not the best, in February. So, and it carried over into the postseason. It's a testament to what hard work and commitment can do for you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Brian Bloodworth of WJBC Bloomington.
Could you talk a little bit about the Illinois State game, what you're going to have to do against them?
Score one more point than them. We'll just have to defend them. They'll have to defend us. They're playing 40 minutes of zone after their press. So we'll have to attack zone. But ultimately, we'll have to score one more point if we're going to win.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Carson Tiggs of Waterloo Courier.
Hey, Greg, it seems kind of obvious to me that you guys are the one team that everybody's kind of gunning for. Do you feel that at all?
I'm sure Illinois State will be gunning for us, and after that, Missouri State will be gunning for us. I mean, well, we're gunning for them as well. I mean, it's two teams trying to play a basketball game, and we understand that there might be some incentive for those other folks, but there's incentive for us as well. We're just trying to play as well as we can each and every game.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Coach, that was your final question. Thank you for your time. Good luck against Illinois State tomorrow night.
Okay, Mike.
Thanks, Greg. This does wrap up this week's call. We'll ask the beat writers to stay on the line. We'll have a round table of our beat writers, and we'll ask everyone else to please disconnect at this time.
NCAA March Madness is coming to St. Louis. Experience it live. Oh, brings it home. As 8 of the top collegiate teams compete for a shot at the NCAA Sweet 16. Don't miss the buzzer beaters. NCAA March Madness is coming to St. Louis. Experience it live. Oh, brings it home. As 8 of the top collegiate teams compete for a shot at the NCAA Sweet 16. Don't miss the buzzer beaters. As Cinderellas crash the party at the 2014 NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship. March 21st and 23rd at the Scott Trade Center in St. Louis. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/MBB tickets.
Don't miss the 2014 Missouri Valley Conference Women's Basketball Tournament at the Family Arena in St. Charles, Missouri. Show your school spirit and get your tickets now. The madness starts at the Arch. Don't miss the 2014 Missouri Valley Conference Men's Basketball Tournament, March 6th through 9th at Scott Trade Center. Get your tickets and get to St. Louis for Arch Madness. It begins here.